Soulmates, always plenty to talk about. This week is flying by. Can't believe it's already Thursday. My goodness, about ready for that weekend. I want to welcome you to FOXSOUL's Black Report. We're following the latest on the heartbreaking case of Shanquella Robinson and the shocking new study that shows Black social workers are in need of help themselves. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Nicordelai Corte. Plus, a new jobs report is out and the Black workforce is stronger than ever. And are you banking Black? Well, if not, we'll introduce you to the largest Black bank in the country. They're the stories that impact our people.
Yeah, we're going to bring you our news, our views, and our voice. So let's get into the top conversation for the day. Let's go to Tennessee. Everybody's talking about it. The young Black representative, Justin Pearson, who was expelled after joining protests following a mass shooting, has been reinstated to his position following his expulsion from the state's House of Representatives. Now, Pearson will now have to win a special election to permanently return to the Capitol. At his reinstatement hearing, Pearson delivered a powerful statement. Take a listen. Pearson's fight for justice and dedication to his constituents have earned him praise. And like I said yesterday and the days before, Nicordelai, a couple of stars have been born. You know, you go from the very unknown to now being just all across the headlines. And you got, the two Justins. This one here, the Pearson, he's going to give you the fire and the fro. And the other Justin is just going to give it to you straight, no chaser. And like you said, the bite. And I just adore them both. And I'm following, and I'm just curious to see how this is all going to play out. But on the other side of it, these guys are destined for greatness.
Yeah, I mean, born to meet the moment.
Yes.
That's certainly what it feels like. And, it was great to see, again, a unanimous vote from the Shelby County Commission in support of Justin Pearson. But, there's a part of me that also thinks, I feel for his supporters and for the constituents that have to organize and mobilize and raise money for a special election, right? They just sent him there, right? And, now they have to, burden that sort of cost and effort. And so, there's no shortage of enthusiasm to do it, but, it feels like just another added step that our folks have to take in order to partake in our freedom.
I get that, but on the other side, I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit on the other side. When have we not been tasked with more than what it appears as though we can handle and have not come through? So if this is what we got to do to put these brothers back on in and on point, then we got to do what we got to do. And we always come through. And in one way or the other, we prevail. That's my take on it.
Well, folks are definitely rising to the occasion.
That's right.
As the U.S. Senate gets involved in the controversy surrounding the expulsion of the two young Black lawmakers from Tennessee's House of Representatives, lawmakers are taking action to protect the voting rights of their constituents. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia have now written to the U.S. Department of Justice asking for an investigation into the expulsion. Meanwhile, Jones and Pearson have been reinstated, but will have to run in a special election to keep their seats. The dates for these elections are yet to be set.
And 5 Louisiana state troopers pleaded not guilty yesterday to charges related to their alleged involvement in the violent arrest and death of a Black motorist by the name of Ronald Green. This happened back in May of 2019. Now, the body cam footage of the incident, which shows officers kicking, punching, dragging, and using a taser on Green, was only released 2 years later. The officers have been charged with malfeasance in office and obstruction of justice. One officer also faces a count of negligent homicide. Green's family has filed a wrongful death civil lawsuit seeking damages for medical and funeral expenses. Now, the next court hearing is on May 12th.
And joining us now is Dr. Melina Abdullah, co-founder of Black Lives Matter and professor of Pan-African Studies at Cal State Los Angeles. Welcome back to the Black Report.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate the coverage.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time today. Let's get right into it. The 5 police officers have now been indicted. What's BLM's response to this particular headline?
Well, I think that the murder of Ronald Green is one of the worst that we've ever seen. Ronald Green was beaten to death in May of 2019. That murder was covered up by an entire state of Louisiana, and we're grateful that we have an a district attorney with the political will to try the case. So Black District Attorney John Belton, after it was uncovered that it was a murder, not a car accident, as it was reported to his family, decided to put this case before a grand jury, won that case in front of the grand jury, and is now prosecuting the 5 deputies who beat to death Ronald Green, whose last words were, "I am your brother," as they stole his life.
There are a lot of headlines with Black DAs in the news. Can you talk to us about the DA leading this case and why we should be paying attention?
Sure. Well, Farmerville, Louisiana, which is where the case is being tried, is a place that I've never been to before, and I've been many places. It's a small town. The parish itself is only 15,000 people, and the town of Farmerville is 5,000 people. And so all of these folks have to face each other, right? It's also a space, as we were driving from Monroe to Farmerville earlier this week, that road is lined with Confederate flags. There were some KKK flags out. And so it takes tremendous courage and will to push this case forward and to do what's right for justice and for Black people in particular. So we're also encouraged that John Belton has been in regular communication with the Green family, talking with Mona Hardin, Ronald Green's mother, on almost a daily basis, and has committed himself to personally trying the case.
Dr. Abdullah, while you're talking, we're looking at the body cam footage, which is absolutely horrific, leading to even more conversation about defunding the police. So what is your response to people who say we actually need police?
Well, it's really important to start with where we absolutely can agree on that we don't need police. If Ronald Green, as they allege, ran into a bush, police did not need to respond to that, right? We didn't need a police response for someone who allegedly, we don't even know if it's true, they said he ran a red light. I didn't even see any stop lights in Monroe. I saw stop signs, but not stop lights, right? We know that police aren't needed at our schools. We need nurses and mental health workers, as your last story talked about, right? We need social workers and counselors and librarians and more teachers in our schools. So let's start with talking about where we don't need police, but we do need other kinds of services, resources, and workers.
Dr. Abdullah, we saw that the BLM mural in California was vandalized. Can you help the public understand what's the difference between Black Lives Matter Grassroots and Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation?
Sure. So we were Black Lives Matter, right? So we were born July 13th, 2013. We're almost 10 years old. We were born right in Los Angeles in response to the acquittal of the murderer of Trayvon Martin. And then we exploded into a global movement. We were boots on the ground. We didn't have any money. We were funding the movement. I was one of the folks who was there in the very beginning. There were about 30 of us who were at that initial meeting, and we began funding the movement out of our own pockets, right? And then in 2020, you saw a surge of participation, but also people willing to generously donate to Black Lives Matter. Unfortunately, that also came with tremendous backlash, especially from white supremacists. And one of our co-founders, Patrisse Cullors, decided that she was going to step back from Black Lives Matter, which had been recently incorporated as the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. And unfortunately, a highly paid consultant who goes by the name of Shalomia Bowers was left with legal control as those resources were supposed to be transitioned over to the boots on the ground, which is what Black Lives Matter Grassroots is. He instead said that he was going to keep it indefinitely. In 2020 alone, he paid himself $2.2 million. And so we're now in court trying to fight for the resources back to the people who birthed, built, and fueled the movement. So Black Lives Matter Grassroots is what you think of when you think of Black Lives Matter. We are the boots on the ground, the people who do work, who stand in solidarity with families like Ronald Green's.
Yeah. Dr. Melina Abdullah, thank you much, first of all, for the clarity on the two differences there with that lawsuit. And also thank you for your time today. We must have you back as news stories like this and unfortunately others continue to plague the headlines. We appreciate your time today. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you so much.
United States prosecutors have announced that they will not file charges in the death of Shanquilla Robinson. The 25-year-old woman from Charlotte, North Carolina, passed away in October 2022 after traveling to Cabo, Mexico with a group of friends. An autopsy revealed that Robinson's neck and back were broken, and Mexican authorities eventually classified the incident as femicide. Despite video evidence of Robinson being violently attacked, federal prosecutors said that there was not enough substantial evidence to support a federal prosecution. No suspects have been taken into custody regarding her death.
I saw this headline and it just broke my heart for the family.
Yeah.
You know, seeing the video, reading the autopsy report, and, you know, for federal prosecutors to say, according to that autopsy and, you know, with great deliberation, we don't find enough evidence to bring charges against anyone. You know, Mexican authorities did issue a warrant for the femicide. Unfortunately, no one has been brought to justice on that side of the law as well. And it is just so heartbreaking. And I'm hoping the family and her community and her village will still find the strength to continue to fight, you know, in her honor and in her memory for justice.
I mean, this is just so strange to me because, you know, nobody just sort of breaks their neck by themselves, right? And you know, it almost seems as if, you know, the federal prosecutors are suggesting that, that there was no foul play, and I just don't see how that matches with the facts that we've reported on, and the fact that the group that was with her, went back home and told her family a different story, and so it is absolutely heartbreaking. And even though the federal prosecution may not be bringing criminal charges, I don't know what that means in terms of any civil suit. We'll continue to keep our eye on this.
Let's stay in Mexico for a minute as survivors of a violent Mexican cartel kidnapping shared their disturbing experience, speaking out for the first time in a recent interview. Now, the survivors, Latifah Washington, McGee, and Eric Williams, described how they were taken to a secluded location and tortured.
So what happened when you crossed over?
We turned down this little side road because we was going to see if that led us to the destination and we was going to turn around. We heard a car beat the horn and pulled around us. Zendel was in the back seat. He said, "Don't stop." He saw a gun. We drove through a few streets and corners until we got back on the main street. And that's when a gang of shooting started.
You may remember the group of Americans drove to Mexico for a cosmetic procedure when they were stopped by members of the Gulf cartel who fatally shot two of them. Authorities initially believed that the kidnapping was a case of mistaken identity, but individuals claiming to be part of the Gulf cartel later sent an apology for their members' actions.
This is another strange story. When's the last time you heard of a drug cartel sending an apology letter saying, "Oops, sorry, you know, wrong target"? number one. And then, number two, it's just another reminder of how dangerous some places are, particularly in Mexico, because of the drug cartels.
Yeah, and they are clearly still traumatized. You see the guy there still reeling from his injuries. And in that interview, it got really dark as they were just saying that cartel was just taking them from place to place, blindfolded, even at one time trying to force them to have sexual relations with one another as they are brother and sister. So they tried to, plead their case, and they were kind of taunted in ways of saying, oh, we've made a mistake, we're going to release you soon. And so it was just horrific to hear that, play by play of what they went through. And they are still seeking justice in this matter. So we're hoping that they receive that as well.
Gosh,
yeah.
My goodness. Well, coming up, the push to get more people to bank black.
Oh yeah, we're going to introduce you to the head of the One United Bank. That is the largest black bank in the country, and how you can benefit from being a member. I want you to stay close, soulmates. You'll need this info. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report. And we want to welcome you back to Fox Soul's Black Report. Congressional Black Caucus members sent a letter to Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg urging him to reform traffic enforcement practices that disproportionately target black drivers.
That's right. The lawmakers expressed concerns over the well-being of black drivers who are more likely to be stopped for traffic violations, but less likely to have access to a vehicle. CBC called for reducing racial inequities in traffic stops, condemning racial profiling, and developing reforms to address these issues.
They also highlighted how such practices undermine DOT's focus on transit equity. The CBC hopes that Buttigieg will prioritize this issue and find solutions to address the harms. Talk about Nicordelai, driving while black. This has been something generational. We've been using that phrase for years on top of years on top of years.
You're right. And some people might see this as serving up a curveball to Secretary Buttigieg. Other people might say, it's easy to talk that talk, but make something happen from where you are. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. He's the Secretary of Transportation, which means the Federal Highway Administration is under his purview. And so this is not an unrealistic request.
I would agree. People need to feel the increase. It's okay to like you said, do the talk, but to put things in action, plans and actions to make sure they press through, politically speaking, whatever policy needs to push through. So the folks who get behind the wheel, who are black like us, can feel the protection, can feel the increase, or can feel whatever has been put in place to better our situation.
That's right. And it's an opportunity for him to make a material difference in the lives of black folks. He is very ambitious. A lot of people sort of see him as a future leader in our country. Well, the time to lead is right now. And so the CBC is challenging Secretary Buttigieg. Now on to black social workers who are experiencing disappointment and exhaustion due to the lack of empathy shown by their white colleagues during the 2020 racial reckoning and the COVID-19 pandemic, according to a study conducted by a professor of social work. Now, the study found that 85% of black social workers were disappointed with the lack of support from their white colleagues. Results showed that many black social workers felt neglected by their white colleagues despite the use of anti-racism terminology and diversity initiatives in social work. The study also suggests that black social workers found the most support for their well-being and mental health from their family and close friends.
Social workers, along with many other fields, just have it really difficult because a lot of times we're going into the homes, and especially if it's a, black home, we're very familiar with our culture and sometimes the way things, unfortunately fall out. But as far as, overall health, especially inside of the pandemic and the racial uprising, being parallel with one another. And, I never revealed this to the rest of the newsroom, but I had about, as an anchor, you're considered the lead, right, in that newsroom, and I had about 8 or 9 young people under my wing at the time, and this was their first time experiencing anything so catastrophic as a pandemic. And then on top of that, the racial profiling and all that was falling out. It was Breonna, it was
George Floyd
and Ahmaud Arbery, kind of like back to back to back, and they did not know to handle it. And I felt like our management tried their best being outside of the culture. So I just gathered them at my home, cooked up a good meal, tapped into a girlfriend who specializes in that type of counseling, and we just fell out on the floor and cried about it and talked about it. And I think it made us better people, and I think it made us better anchors and reporters to prepare to cover such catastrophic and precedent type things.
I mean, it's a reminder of the importance of the village, right? And it's also the importance and outsized role that Black social workers play in serving, people that are in enormous need. And so, shout out to all the Black social workers out there, the coalition of Black social workers out there
and
doing
maybe just gathering
work.
your coworkers who you find some, commonality in and giving that support. Yeah, it's very crucial.
That's right.
All right, the unemployment rate for African Americans in March fell to the lowest ever recorded in U.S. history. Now, that's according to data provided by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The Black unemployment rate is at 5%, plunging more than half of a percentage point from the rate recorded back in February. Now, the Black unemployment rate fell from 5.7% in February, a month that saw an uptick of 0.3% in Black joblessness from January. Now, generally, the Black unemployment rate this year has hovered between 5.7% and more than 6% unemployment for Black women. In March, also reached a record low.
Soulmates, listen up. Taxes are due in less than a week, and we're here to help. If you got your workout last year with a gym membership or perhaps put in a pool, it's possible that both expenses can be deductions. Any medically prescribed weight loss programs are also eligible. Experts say that taxpayers miss out on millions of dollars worth of write-offs, and 1 out of 5 taxpayers forget to claim the Savers Credit. This credit is available automatically, and taxpayers can receive up to $1,000 if they are single or up to $2,000 if they're married filing jointly. Also, check to see if you qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit, as the IRS says that 25% of people do. And lastly, ask for an extension if you need more time to apply. In an effort to support the Bank Black and Buy Black movement, One United Bank has implemented 100,000 surcharge-free ATMs across the nation. Now, as the largest Black-owned bank in the country, One United is dedicated to serving the Black community and its financial needs.
Indeed. Now, today we have the privilege of speaking with Terry Williams, President, COO, and owner of One United Bank, who brings 30 years of financial services and expertise to our show. We want to welcome you to FOXSOUL's Black Report.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here, Ms. Terry. Can you tell us more about One United Bank's mission to serve the Black community and how these surcharge-free ATMs, how are they going to make a difference?
Yeah. So in addition to being the largest Black-owned bank, we're also what's called a Community Development Financial Institution, or CDFI. And our focus is to close the racial wealth gap and to build wealth in all communities, but particularly in the Black community.
Yeah. So aside from, these ATM fees, what also makes your bank stand out from other banks, and how does Bank Black, that movement, how does that factor into your bank's approach to serving customers such as us?
Yeah. So we're first of all, we're unapologetically Black, and our focus really is to provide the best services, affordable services for our community. So we're trying to make financial literacy, as an example, a core value in the Black community. We are offering affordable financial banking products to our community, whether that's second chance checking account for people that have check systems record, or we have a great short-term small dollar loan program called Cash Please, so that when you do need those extra dollars to avoid overdraft, you can just, go into our mobile app and get, $400 or $500 in minutes. So we do a lot of things to really help our community sort of overcome some challenges that we have as a community and to get us on the road to building wealth.
And I just want to dig a little bit deeper about this whole idea of One United Bank leaning into being unapologetically black. I know there are a number of banks that haven't quite made that lean yet. What inspired One United Bank, to really lean into this and to be so public about it? And what are your hopes in terms of inspiring the financial services industry to do the same?
Yeah. So first of all, in addition to being the president, I'm also the owner, and I'm black, and it's really important for us to speak in our authentic voice. If you want someone to trust you, that it's really important that you're authentic, that you really speak to who you are and what you're trying to do. And so we made this shift from being a bank that happens to be black owned to being an unapologetically black bank about 6 or 7 years ago. And our customer base has actually tripled since that time. So, I think our community hears us. I think they need us. But it's more than just our voice, and it's more than just, how we communicate. It's also putting sort of our money where our mouth is. I mean, the surcharge-free ATM network, it's costing us money, but it's saving our community money. We offer 2-day early pay, for no charge to our customers, but it does cost us money to make that money available quicker. So we're really, saying that, not just to One United Bank, but really to the entire banking community, is that we just need to do more to address the needs of the black community.
Yeah, and as your bank continues to meet specific needs for the black community, what financial advice, general financial advice, would you have for black people specifically, and how does One United Bank continue to go about supporting black customers and building wealth beyond, like you mentioned, those traditional bank services?
Right. So we really ask everyone to focus on the one transaction that's going to help you and your family close the racial wealth gap. In some cases that could be, savings and increasing your savings. It could be buying a home. As I always say, even if it's a hut, it could be buying a home, having a profitable business, having life insurance, or, there's so many things, a will, to really focus on that one transaction that's going to close the wealth gap for your family, and then learn how to take that step, to make that one transaction possible. So that's what we have been communicating. Because if you think about the racial wealth gap, you think, oh, this is so big, I could never solve it. But really, for each family, it's typically one thing that we can do, one financial focus that we can do that really makes a difference, not just for us, but for generations to come.
And speaking of making a difference for generations to come, we know that it's Women's History Month. And as Women's History Month begins, how does it feel to be named one of the most powerful women in America by Forbes for your hard work and dedication in the industry? And what's your message to some of the young folks out there? Just over your shoulder, there's a beautiful piece of black art there, really featuring one of our babies there. What's your message to the next generation of folks who are looking for the financial freedom that so many other generations haven't been able to achieve?
Yeah. Thank you for that. And it's really an honor to be named one of the 50 over 50 this year. And I would say to everyone to really focus on, how you got to where you are and who are the people that made a difference to you. I've been recently talking about my great-grandmother. She owned a juke joint, a barbecue pit, a penny candy store where I used to work, and some real estate. And I used to just follow her around. And I didn't realize how important that was as a kid. We called her Ma Honey, and I always say to everyone, there's a Ma Honey in your life, whether it's your mom, your auntie, your godmother, but there's someone in your life that really has made you who you are today. And, sort of pay tribute to that person during this Women's History Month.
Absolutely. Ms. Terry Williams, actually, these days are flying by so quick. We're already in the first week of April. So what an amazing legacy that you have created and continue to live in. And thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you. You're now an official soulmate. We got to have you back for some more advice and to keep on top of what you and this, what I want to call a movement, is doing. Amazing, amazing work.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
#BankBlack.
Up next, the impact of living with sickle cell.
That's right. When we return, we're speaking to Kier Jr. Spates, a sickle cell warrior, survivor, and co-host of the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
And we welcome you back to Fox Soul's Black Report. So let's talk health and wellness, in particular, sickle cell.
That's right. In the U.S., sickle cell affects around 100,000 people. For Black Americans, the impact is felt disproportionately, with 1 out of every 365 Black people having sickle cell disease.
Joining us now is Kier Jr. Spates, a sickle cell warrior, survivor, and co-host of the Steve Harvey Morning Show. We want to welcome you to the Black Report. I know you. I used to do morning radio, so you've been up for a minute, Kier. So appreciate you.
But this is more important.
That's I know.
What I fight for.
I know that's right. So let's. I'm good, darling. It's so good to see you. So let's talk about the beginning of your journey with sickle cell. When did this actually start? Like the diagnosis and how you've been able to kind of stay ahead of it a bit.
Yeah. The crazy part about it is it's so crazy. Mm-hmm. I was diagnosed. I was not diagnosed with sickle cell until I was 7 years old, and that meant my parents had 7 years of not knowing what's wrong with their child. And that's scary, knowing that I had this disease. And then after they tell me that I was diagnosed at 7, then they say, well, he's going to leave here by 11.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's only 4 years. So when I was about 10 and a half, I was playing extra hard because I'm about to go. So I was playing really strongly hard because I didn't know. And so now you get to this age and you say, you know what, your life isn't over because you have sickle cell. That does not mean that's a death sentence. Although they treat us like that, it is not. And so what we're doing is we want to change the outlook for everybody with sickle cell, because I don't look at this as an American issue. I focus on this on a global issue.
What you mean, Kier? You only look 23 and a half. What you mean at this age? You only look about 23 and a half years old, darling. What you mean?
Well, I had to agree with that. My mom got good genes. They ain't got nothing to do with it. But all I know is that when you look at sickle cell from a global aspect, they don't all look like us.
Yeah.
I mean, there are different people around the world that have different skin tones that have this exact same debilitating disease. And we just talk about it from America, but if you go over to the Middle East, there are people in the royal family with sickle cell. Okay, so we're not talking about this from the standpoint of it's just us. No, this is for everybody. And this is why I started this podcast. This is why I'm doing it. To just transpire to understand that I had to reconcile with death a long time ago because this is killing us. And so this is why I want somebody who just found out maybe today that their son or their daughter may have sickle cell, that they'll have some tools that my parents didn't have to equip you for this battle, that your child's going to have a different life.
Kier,
trust me.
Kier, on that point, and you don't look like what you've been through.
That's right.
What are some of the challenges? Some of the challenges that you face while living with sickle cell?
Yes, I'm gonna tell you, my medical care is one challenge I have to deal with because they're underserving this community of people. Okay, they're underserving us for one, and then on top of that, they're under-medicating us as well. If I tell you my pain's at a 10, don't treat it like it's a 2. If I say my medication needs to be here at this time, it should be here at this time. Don't make me wait another hour because you feel as a healthcare professional that I am lying to you and I'm becoming a drug seeker. And we all have faced these challenges. And this is why we're going to get this discussion going, because this has to change. You don't tell cancer patients, and nothing against people with cancer, we pray for all of us. But when they tell you where their pain is at, you serve that pain. And as a person with sickle cell, I need that same care. I didn't come in here and stop my good job and my good life and all the fight I have to do to come in here looking for an opioid or a drug. That's not what I have time to do. And so we're going to have this conversation, and we're going to make sure that they know that, hey, when you see somebody with sickle cell, find out, talk to them. We know what our pain level is. There's no more of an expert in this room than me.
Yeah.
So I understand.
So, Junior, talk to us a little bit about the podcast, Living Your Life podcast. I've tapped in, I've listened, and the subject matter and what you're talking about is so heavy, but you managed to get in some laughs and really talk about a lighter side of your journey. I love that balance there.
Let me tell you something. I have when I'm down, I already have enough trouble.
Yeah.
But life is about finding the funny in the pain that you go through. Even then, And so living your life is just a statement that we not just people with sickle cell, but maybe you guys, maybe we're not living enough. With everything that's going on, I wanted to put something together for people with sickle cell where they get to talk to some of my friends in the business and sit down and look how they're living their lives and find out how to take what you're hearing and apply it to your own life about overcoming. This is all we're talking about. We're sitting down and we're talking to Earthquake. We're talking to Kiki Shepard. Matter of fact, in Detroit, I talked to a young lady who is 17 years old. Her name is Reem Siddiqui. She started a business at 17 where she's taking sickle cell patients to their doctor's appointments. This young lady is amazing. And guess what? She doesn't even have sickle cell. She's just been around it her entire life because her mother is a doctor who deals with sickle cell patients. So these stories we're going to go find are these amazing people in our sickle cell community, and their stories are talking about overcoming odds and situations in life. And that's why we got to get back to living your life. That's why I started.
And what is it about living with sickle cell? What is it about the people living with sickle cell that you think is just so resilient? This is not an easy disease for people to live with. No. What makes folks like you so resilient?
Intestinal fortitude can handle it.
Say that again. Say that again, Junior.
Intestinal fortitude.
My goodness.
The way that I view life. See, it's not when they already tell you that this could kill you, then I'm not so much concerned about if my lights get turned off. See, I'm not worried about bills and all this type of stuff because you've already given me an expiration date, 11. I've been proving the doctor wrong for 33 years. Okay, now here I am, and then I see some of these stories. I see the pain and the hurt and some of these people. But let me tell you something. You don't even understand how much more you can take than the average person. You have some fortitude built in you. You're going to find out in life that ain't going to bother you. The fact of the matter is that you can tolerate this type of pain in your life. You built for something. And that's the message I want to get across to them.
Listen, Junior, thanks so much for your time. You have officially been blessed as a soulmate. We got to have you back and talk a lot more about your journey, especially as you and the podcast continue to reach and teach the masses. Tell Steve Harvey and the crew we said what up, though. And we love you and God bless.
We love y'all. 92.3 The Mix, Detroit.
Yeah, here in Detroit. We love it. You got it, baby boy. Take care. Stay safe. We love you. We'll have you back for sure, kid.
Bless you, brother.
Thank you, man. Y'all guys have a good one.
Indeed. All right, great guy there. So positive.
Yeah, very much so.
All right, still ahead, the world of Hollywood is worried about Jamie Foxx. What is happening?
That's right. We'll tell you all about the most recent medical scare. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report. Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. Well, Oscar-winning actor Jamie Foxx is recovering after being admitted to an Atlanta hospital.
So his daughter took to social media saying her father suffered a, quote, medical complication. She says, luckily, due to quick action, Foxx is already on his way to recovery. It is currently unclear whether what kind of medical issue this exactly was.
Yeah, well, we do know that the 55-year-old is in Atlanta filming the action comedy Back in Motion with Cameron Diaz. He was last seen on set on Monday.
Yeah, so there was a lot of talk as to how this was going to back up, filming, because nobody really knows the severity of what this medical situation is. But down in Atlanta, the streets will talk.
What are the streets talking about?
Well, they were saying that, they weren't calling it out, but they were saying that at one point he could not talk. And I'm hearing that these are unofficial reports that he is communicating again, but at one point, whatever happened, he wasn't able to communicate. This is a big movie. The Diaz lady had been in retirement. She's coming back, A-listers. So all eyes on this situation to see what happens. But in the meeting in between, best wishes to Jamie. We love Fox.
Get well soon, Fox.
That's right. All right, Sean Jay-Z Carter is heading to Paris this weekend to pay tribute. Did you like that?
Where he going?
Paris. To pay tribute to two iconic artists. Now, he's expected to perform at the Foundation Louis Vuitton Auditorium in tribute to Andy Warhol and Jean Basquiat, that's it, with a celebratory concert that will coincide with a Basquiat and Warhol painting exhibition, recognizing the multiple canvas collaborations between the pair. Tiffany and Company will serve as the sponsor. Chez Fou Fou La La.
Chez Fou Fou.
The company the billionaire will keep, honey. See, I remember Jay-Z back in the days when he was riding in the car with Kenya Moore in the Jigga What, Jigga Who video. That's what I go back to that. But people evolve and move on, and amazing.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see it.
Yeah.
You know what else is good to see?
What's that?
Dana Owens. Ooh. She's known to the world as Queen Latifah, and her most recent accomplishment shows why she's called the Queen.
Okay.
This week, she made history as the first and only female rapper to be inducted into the Library of Congress. The Library of Congress is the largest library in the world, with millions of books and films and videos, audio recordings, photographs, newspapers, maps, and manuscripts in its collection. The library preserves and provides access to a rich, diverse, and enduring source of knowledge to inform, inspire, and engage the masses.
Wow, yeah, the Library of Congress is hot, baby. It's hot, and they do their job to curate so many careers and make sure those careers and those accomplishments are on record for generations to come.
Yeah, and it's great to see Queen Latifah celebrated.
It is.
She is still young and still has a whole lot of time ahead of her,
yeah.
Right? And so it's going to be really great to see her, continue to grow in her art. Remember the jazz album she did years ago? That was fierce. There's nothing that Queen Latifah can't do.
There's such a process to begin when the Library of Congress does reach out to you, as they have myself, if I may, toot my horn for a minute. There's so much that you have to go through because they want to know every bit about your journey, personally and professionally, and then they want to gather all the artifacts that you are willing to part with. So a little bit later on this month, myself and 29 other Black women in radio have been selected to be a part of that collection, to be inducted into the Library of Congress, and that piece is going to tour for a while, and then it'll rest at a library in Atlanta. It's called the Radio Preservation Task Force, and they're focusing in on Black women in radio to preserve our stories and our journeys.
That is terrific.
Isn't that wonderful?
Bravo.
Thank you. So I'll be right there with Queen
somebody that's in the Library of Congress.
Man, listen, I was like, are you sure you got the right Courtney Hicks? I was very honored.
That's incredible.
It's going to be special. It really is. All right, speaking of being honored, actor Billy Porter is set to step into a legendary role. The Emmy and Tony Award winner will portray author and civil rights activist James Baldwin in an upcoming biopic. Porter will not only play the lead role, but he's also going to take on some writing credits as well. I think this is spot on. He says it's been a career-long dream to tell Baldwin's story on film. Baldwin was, of course, a Black queer visionary writer whose influential work includes Go Tell It on the Mountain, Notes of a Native Son, and If Beale Street Could Talk, which, of course, was a big motion picture hit starring Regina King. This is going to be fabulous.
This is so exciting because James Baldwin. James Baldwin he's a personal hero. He's a hero to so many of us, and to see Billy Porter. Sort of transform into James Baldwin. That's going to be interesting.
I think he's going to nail it.
To see.
He's going to nail it.
And this is also a project that's supported by Byron Allen. And so this is also a great example of allyship, right? Byron Allen, is, sort of supporting this film. And we love to see it. We love to see it, especially in a time like this. We need our allies, and we need more James Baldwin on the screen.
Yeah. Actress Taraji P. Henson is partnering with Kate Spade, New York, to bring wellness pods to HBCU campuses. The initiative aims to destigmatize mental health and bring quality mental health services to Black communities. The She Care Wellness Pods will include spaces for traditional therapy sessions, as well as yoga, art, and dance therapies, and include a space for naps. necessary. Now, the first set of pods are only designated for females, but a wellness pod for males is expected to roll out a bit later. So big ups to Taraji P. Henson. She's been really big as of late on mental health. It's always interesting to watch her and some of our other celebrities, her girlfriends, talk about what they go through. We see them on the screen, very successful, what appears to be, having it together. And then when you see them get together on the couch with a glass of wine, it's a whole different story. It doesn't take away from their celebrity, but you realize they are folks too, and they catch it just like we do.
And she's really been leaning into this initiative. I mean, we've reported on this on the show in the past.
Right.
And it's great to see her returning to not just the Mecca, but other HBCUs and providing, resources that, are going to make a tangible difference in the lives of folks that are dealing with a lot. We just did a story on, the fact that Black social workers are dealing with a lot, right? And so, it's going to be great to see folks really leaning into this as a resource, and the fact that it's focused on women, but she's her sights on opening it up to men and other folks. I loved in the press release how they talked about meeting folks where they're at.
Listen, individually we need specialized attention. Collectively we do as well. So she's saying, hey, she's identifying with what she identifies with and say, hey, let me help my sisters, but brothers, I got you too. And I think all is necessary. And again, big ups to Raji for recognizing this and partnering with folks who can get it done.
That's right. Okay, Kate Spade, we see you. Still ahead, our favorite segment, Black Excellence.
We love it. When we come back, we'll tell you which school is honoring
Dionne Warwick.
The Queen, honey. All of that and more straight ahead on Fox Soul's Black Report.
All right, soulmates, stop the presses. Bowie State University is officially naming its Performing Arts Center after a music legend, the Dionne Warwick.
Yeah, it's going to be called the Dionne Warwick Theater and will host concerts, plays, and other performances. Now, the naming is to honor Ms. Warwick's lifelong advocacy for higher education, healthcare, and the arts. A $500,000 gift from the Durant Family Foundation was given to Bowie State University, which is the oldest historically Black institution in the state of Maryland. It holds high significance for the NBA star Kevin Durant, as it was one of the places where he competed as a teenager.
That's right. Bowie State officials say that the contribution will go a long way towards updating our facilities, like the Dionne Warwick Theater.
Listen, she is just all over the place. Not only is, she's got this great honor, but she was also named like the Queen of Twitter because she's so quick with her comebacks. She's so quick with the comebacks.
Are we surprised that Auntie Dionne is quick with it? You remember when Auntie Dionne was on The Apprentice?
Oh,
and listen,
she was a hit.
And if you don't remember, Nene Leakes remembers.
Oh, she got up all up in Nene Leakes, didn't she?
She sure
we
did.
love Miss Warwick. All righty, let's go to Nicole Lynn, who's been named president of football for Clutch Sports Group, leading the team representing more than 60 NFL players and employing 5 NFLPA certified player agents.
That's right. Lynn has become a household name in the sports world, being the first Black woman to represent an NFL quarterback in the 2023 Super Bowl. Clients include Philadelphia Eagles Jalen Hurts, New York Jets Quinnen Williams, and Cleveland Browns Myles Garrett. She'll also represent top prospects at this year's NFL draft.
This is exciting. So, social media went nuts, loved the announcement as she received several praises from colleagues and fans, everybody posting all across social media. Others even commented on how impactful this particular move, this appointment, is going to be for Black women already in the sports world or looking to get into it. Now, before negotiating contracts for NFL players, some of you might know she worked with Young Money mogul Lil Wayne. She is only 34 and a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So she is on the move, and this appointment is going to be definitely well celebrated. Folks are excited.
I'm really excited that young women are going to be able to look to her
and
as
say,
an inspiration and say, you know what,
too.
We can be in the sports world. We can be agents. We can get deals done. And so I'm just really excited to see that happening like right before our very eyes.
It's
amazing. For a long time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's been a glass ceiling in a lot of different industries, and it's great to see so many women in the sports world sort of cracking that glass ceiling, both on the court and off the court.
Yeah. Before we wrap up the show, we were talking yesterday about Reverend Al Sharpton and how sharp he was in that red suit as his big convention is happening in New York. The National Action Network convention. It kicked off yesterday. It's running through the 15th at the convention. It's featuring a panel regarding covering threats to democracy through the lens of equality, and will feature our very own general manager of FOXSOUL, big network, James Dubose. So be sure to catch the highlights and replay on YouTube. And big ups to James for representing and being that mouthpiece for the culture.
That's right. Really exciting stuff.
Lots of folks are gathering for that event.
The National Action Network, that is one of the go-to conferences.
It is.
This time of year, every year, and so congratulations to James, holding the FOXSOUL flag proudly.
And to the Reverend Al Sharpton, pulling that thing together, being the face and the voice and the strength of that. All right, for the full rundown on today's stories and more, you can access FOXSOUL's video on demand on any of our partners. You can even access past shows and other Black-centered content. And don't forget, soulmates, we say this every day, you can download that FOXSOUL app. It is absolutely free. It's going to keep you tapped in with all that we say and do here, not only on the Black Report, but across the FOXSOUL network. And we had a beautiful spring-like day.
We did.
Here in Detroit.
It
FOXSOUL
felt like
Report
spring
headquarters.
for a change.
Yeah.
For a change. Oh my goodness. Today feels like Los Angeles in Detroit.
But I want you to be careful because April is tricky, spring is very tricky, and we have been known to get snowfall in April. As a matter of fact,
snowfall in April?
Yes, as a matter of fact, next week we're supposed to be getting back to some chilly temperatures. So if you're anywhere in the Midwest, like in Chicago and Minneapolis, and you're enjoying this amazing day, do so, but prepare. Because sometimes it can be a trick.
What's the Prince song? Sometimes it snows in April.
Yeah.
So like
it's
that's
true.
real.
That really happens. That really happens.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Thanks so much for watching today. We appreciate you.
That's right. On behalf of the entire team here at FOXSOUL's Black Report, I'm Nicordelai Corte.
I'm Courtney Hicks.
Until next time, soulmates, stay lifted
and stay safe. We'll see you soon. Oh yeah, it will snow in April.
Oh my goodness.